and Gio.
BT and Sal.
Evan and Tiki.
Keith McPherson, your nighttime host on The Fan.
On the Fan.
On the Fan.
On the Fan.
It's WFAN Daily, hosted by Pete Hoffman.
Well, that's right. I'm back. Pete Hoffman with you on The Fan on WFAN Daily. As yesterday we previewed the New York Rangers, disappointing as they lost their opening game. But the Devils play on Thursday, and I want to bring my buddy in, Ryan Chichester, right now, who loves the Devils, covers the Devils, is the biggest Devils fan that I know. Welcome, Ryan, and let's talk a little bit New Jersey Devils, bro.
Let's do it. This is refreshing. It's hockey season. I'm pumped up. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Well, listen, let's be serious here. Were you at all nervous about the news that maybe the Hughes brothers would be leaving the New Jersey Devils at all?
No, I think it was all just logistics. The only thing I would have been worried about is that, how much time is Luke Hughes going to miss in training camp? How many preseason games is he going to miss? Is this going to affect his, game shape, physical shape at the start of the season? Because he's still maturing as a player. He's still in his early 20s. So that was the only concern. I think I always knew a deal was going to get done. It was just a matter of how long is this going to bleed into the offseason to where this actually starts to affect his preparation for what's, a very important season.
And now, do you expect them to eventually make a trade with the Canucks to bring over Quinn to make that? It sounds like they all three want to play together. That's what it sounds like. It feels that way. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, they're all doing the dance around the tampering stuff. They don't want to say anything. You saw, I think Jack Hughes said it the other day, like, I'm not trying to be tampering here, but I don't think it's any secret. They're all brothers. They're all stars or budding stars in this league, and they all want to play together. And Quinn Hughes is probably the best out of all three of them. So the idea of bringing him to the Devils, who have needed defensive help for a few seasons now, the thought of having him on the blue line with, Luke as a potential defensive partner and then Jack Hughes as the frontline center, that's super exciting. And I think you're only going to hear continued noise about that in the coming years before Quinn Hughes is able to sign with another team.
Well, you talk about Jack, who is probably arguably the most talented of the three, especially offensively gifted that he is on the Devils. Do you expect, let's take about this season right now here. Do you expect him to have one of his best seasons? I mean, he's only getting, he's still young, but he's only getting better with age. Do you expect him to be, possibly the MVP of the league?
If he stays healthy, that's the big question. That's the $1 million question for the Devils, and that's probably what's going to determine their season. How many games can Jack Hughes play? I mean, every single season pretty much for his career so far, he's been on a 100-point pace, which is great, but it's not just about the pace. You have to play those 75 to 80 games a season. He hasn't been able to do that except for that 22-23 season when he was a Hart Trophy candidate. So the big question is just, can he stay healthy? I think he can. I'm expecting pretty much a full season workload from Jack Hughes this season. I know he's had a few injuries. Most of them are upper body injuries. Like, you think back to the injury last season, he's going full speed at the net in Vegas. He gets bumped from behind and crashes into the wall. Like, that's going to injure anybody. That's not furthering some narrative that Jack Hughes is injury prone. That's just a tough hockey play that's going to injure anybody. And he hurt his shoulder, he needed surgery, and he was done for the season, which was obviously a crippling blow to the Devils. But no, I'm expecting a full season from him. And if he is able to put up a full season, then yeah, I think you could see him potentially be in the Hart conversation.
Dude, again, at 24 years old, it's incredible what he's done so far. It's incredible how good he is. You look at the other two teams locally with the Rangers and the Islanders. They have some good young players, but nobody is as significantly gifted as Jack Hughes is. But let's talk about some of his other teammates, other line mates and whatnot. Like, they obviously brought in a couple, I would say ringers, but of getting Dadonov. How do you feel about him being added to this team?
Yeah, I like the offseason moves that they made. I think Tom Fitzgerald did a pretty good job. Obviously, everyone was kind of upset that the Luke Hughes addition took so long. But I like the addition of Connor Brown personally. They needed some bottom six help in their lines. Like, their third and fourth lines did not produce much of anything last season. I mean, Jack Hughes got hurt, and like you were mentioning before, just how dynamite he is on the attack. Like, him and Jesper Bratt as a tandem were just so much of the scoring attack last season. And Jack gets hurt, you start to really see how thin they were depth-wise at forward. So bringing in Connor Brown, who had ACL surgery two seasons ago, and he started to look better in Edmonton as the season went on. So I'm looking for him to potentially be a good fit. And like I was saying, it's going to be about the forward depth. Like, you can't rely too much on the Stephen Nasons of the world. And what is Dawson Mercer going to give you after what's been kind of 2 disappointing seasons in a row? He's still relatively young. So I think Tom Fitzgerald and company did a decent job of fortifying the depth on those forward lines, and we're just going to have to see how it plays out.
One guy that obviously I'm a San Jose Sharks fan as well as a Rangers fan. So I know a little bit about this one guy, Timo Meier, who, not for nothing, he has been a good, gifted player. He's a little bit of an enforcer at times. He can score. He can set up. He can do a little bit of everything. But with the Devils, he just kind of, he only played 51 games. Was it last year? No, how many games did he play last year? Did he play a full season? Did he?
He played a full season last year. He played about 80
okay.
80 games. Yeah, 80 games last year.
I'm looking at the playoffs, but it's disappointing. Let's be fair. He was not the guy that we saw with the Sharks. He wasn't as goal score heavy. He wasn't as didn't put the puck in the back of the net. Didn't set up as well. It's adjustment period. But now is he going to be playing? What line is he playing on? And is he going to be able to excel the way he did in San Jose?
Yeah, I think you figure he'll probably be on the second line with Nico. And in terms of, is he going to be able to excel like he did with the Sharks? Is he going to be able to be a 30-goal scorer again? I don't know. I mean, like you said, it has been a bit disappointing for Timo Meier in New Jersey. You've kind of seen his ability and his peak in spurts. He had that injury the season before last, and then seemed like maybe there was some lingering stuff, and he started to pick it up towards the end of the season. But everyone's expecting more because of that 8-year contract extension that he signed. So again, I think it's a trickle down effect. Like, Jack Hughes has to stay healthy, and you have that lethal combo of him and Bratt on the first line, and that can open things up for the second line with Nico and Timo. So I'm expecting more from Timo this year than he put together last year, with the assumption that he is fully healthy and ready to go, because you could tell a noticeable difference last season when he was feeling 100% physically and when he wasn't. And when he was, he looked like, shades of the player that you saw in San Jose that earned that contract.
Now, one thing that was definitely, I don't want to say it was a surprise, but it was definitely a big part to their game, was the goaltending. The combo this year with Markstrom and Allen, not for nothing, but like, you look at the other tandems around hockey, they definitely played fantastic last year. Do you expect them to be able? The defense has always been a key to the Devils, right? Back in the day when they did the trap defense. Now it's just more like they still are defensively gifted. They've always had good goalies. How do you feel about this this tandem with Markstrom and Allen?
Yeah, I feel good about it. When they signed Markstrom, I think one of the concerns was his age. He's in his mid-30s. How is he going to hold up? But last season, he was at his best in the playoffs against Carolina. I mean, he kept them in so many of those games. He kept them in that game 6 before they bowed out in double overtime. So he was great in the postseason. So, after a grind of an 82-game season, how is a goalie of his age going to hold up? He definitely passed that with flying colors. I think Jake Allen's one of the better backups in the NHL. So they have a great goalie tandem. The concern would just be, how much are they going to hold up if the defense continues to be a liability at times like it's been in recent years? Like you said, this is not the days of the New Jersey defense anymore. Like, there are some holes in this defense, even including Luke Hughes, who I think is going to continue to mature and grow, but he also made some really backbreaking decisions with the puck in his own end last season, which is a product of being young. So hopefully that stuff, is addressed this season, but it doesn't stop there. Dougie Hamilton, is he going to be able to stay healthy? And even when he does, he's great on the power play. He's got a snipe of a shot, but how does he do in his own end? Kovacevic is hurt. Brett Pesce had an underwhelming debut season after coming over from Carolina. So all that stuff is questions that is it a domino effect that impacts the goaltending? We're going to have to see. But as for the goalies themselves, I feel good about this tandem.
Is there anybody, anybody on this team right now, whether it's someone who's just returning or someone that's brand new, but who do you think is going to step up in a way that we the Devils fans would be very happy with? Who are you most excited, I guess, to see?
Well, who am I most excited to see? I guess this might be a boring answer, but Nico Hischier. He shows up every season. He's a Selke candidate every season. He's going to be a Selke candidate again. I mean, he's one of the best 200-foot players in the NHL. Like, he's so good on both ends of the ice. And just what we saw in the preseason with how eager and quick he is to protect Jack Hughes. Like, you saw Jack Hughes get hit in that game against Washington, and Nico came right over and was ready, to drop the gloves and do whatever he had to do to protect his fellow star. And then I think the camera caught him, and lip readers could kind of see him over into the other penalty box. Like, you went after Jack, like I have to come after you. And then that's what the mentality is going to be: protect the team star. I love that out of Nico. I guess for a less obvious choice, I would be looking at Dawson Mercer. Like I mentioned earlier, he was kind of the restricted free agent drama case a couple seasons ago before Luke Hughes, when people were wondering, like, when is he going to sign? And then he did, but he's been kind of underwhelming ever since. They need more scoring from Dawson Mercer, like they got in the 22-23 season. If they can get that from him, suddenly these forward lines, like, there's so much more depth to it. There's so many more scoring threats up and down the stat sheet, and that would really ease the pressure on those top two lines of having to kind of carry the offensive workload the whole season.
Last year as a whole, again, when you have three teams in the tri-state that are fighting for a playoff spot, and you only get the Devils in there, it's a little disappointment because, the high hopes for the Rangers every year. The Islanders, always seem to be an up-and-coming team. They're always a step away. The Devils were the lone representative in the tri-state area. If you had to take a guess, where do the Devils sit as far as playoffs go?
I think they'll be in that top three in the Metro. I would say it's probably going to be the Devils, the Hurricanes, and maybe the Rangers battling for that third spot in the Metro. I know they didn't have a good showing last night, especially offensively, and sucks for all the Rangers fans at the Fan to kind of see the season start with a goal 30 seconds into the season. Not something I was too upset about, but I still think they're going to be improved. Mike Sullivan's a really good coach. I think the bump in the first year of a head coaching tenure is pretty real over there in New York. You saw it with Gallant, you saw it with Laviolette. So I think the Rangers will be there fighting. The Hurricanes are just so solid in the Metro now. They're like the Yankees of the NHL now. Like, they're just going to compete and be in the playoffs every single year. It's just a matter of are they going to get over that last hump? So, but I expect the Devils to be right there with those two teams, maybe Washington being the other team competing for one of those top three spots. Islanders are probably more of a rebuild. I know there's excitement because they got the number one pick in Matthew Schaefer, but other than that, it's probably going to be a bit of a turning of the page for that franchise for the next year or so. But for the Devils, yeah, I mean, I think the expectation is get back to the playoffs and make a little more noise, maybe win 2 series, get to a conference final.
Well, listen, Ryan, the one thing you mentioned about that was the head coaching in New York. The Devils, they have Sheldon Keefe. This is his going into his second year as head coach. The one thing is sustainability. It's very lackluster in this area. It feels like the turnover is very quick when it comes down to head coaching. Is Sheldon Keefe? There's nothing about that. Like, what's the one thing that he could do wrong besides missing the playoffs that could get him fired, or is he even close to like the hot seat at all?
No, I don't think he's close to the hot seat at all. I mean, like you said, the lifespan of an NHL head coach is painfully short. I mean, there is such high turnover, especially in this area. But I think Sheldon Keefe had a good first season. I mean, they got back to the playoffs. Even with Jack Hughes getting hurt, they hung on. I know, it was a predictable 5-game loss to the Hurricanes, like I think everybody predicted before that series started. But they fought at home in that big game 3 and won in double overtime. They were fighting like hell on the road in that game 5 before they lost in double overtime. Sheldon Keefe had the special teams looking a lot better. The power play and the penalty kill were both among the top 3 or 4 in the league last season. They just have to be a little better at 5-on-5. And I think a lot of what hurt the Devils last season was injury related. It was Jack Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, Kovacevic at the end of the year. So I don't even think the seat is warm for Sheldon Keefe right now. If they miss the playoffs, maybe it warms up. But in terms of this season, no, he's safe.
Well, there's always that issue of missing the playoffs. At least that for my teams, it feels like that comes up more often than not. I know, Ryan, you're in the middle of a playoff run with the Yankees, so you got to go do that. But Ryan, Chichester, thank you so much for the time. We'll definitely do this again as the season goes on. Definitely when the Rangers and the Islanders and Devils all go head to head, we should definitely do this again for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I know it's playoff baseball season, but always down to talk some hockey. I'm super excited for this season, and but should be a good one for the Devils. I'm excited. I think they're going to be able to make some noise as long as they stay healthy. So I'm pumped up for Thursday night. Let's go.
All right, Ryan. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. And that's again another episode of WFAN Daily. I'll be back tomorrow with more. See ya.